As Washington waits, leaders in each party frame the debate around the looming government shutdown.
Totally up to the Democrats. The ball is in their court.
The bottom line is very simple, Kristen. It's up to them.
Ahead of a meeting at the White House with President Trump and the top two leaders from each party, Republicans say all they're asking is for a clean continuing resolution to give both sides more time to negotiate.
What the Democrats have done here is take the federal government as a hostage, and for that matter, by extension, the American people, to try and get a whole laundry list of things that they want.
Those things they want largely centered around health care, including extending Affordable Care Act subsidies to help people afford their premiums, which expire at the end of the year.
People are losing their jobs. Rural hospitals are closing. People are going to get notices of $4,000 a year increase in their premiums. So our job is to represent the people of America.
That doesn't happen until the end of the year. We can have that conversation, but before we do, release the hostage. Set the American people free.
Now, the House already passed a stopgap spending bill, and the Senate will once again try to do the same in a vote on Monday night. But with only 53 Republicans, they'll need to get several Democrats to join them. And for some Democrats, this will be a tough sell. They feel like this is the only time they've had any leverage since President Trump came back into office. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
Mr. President, furloughs are very typical when the government shuts down. Why is the administration directing federal layoffs of federal workers this time around?
Well, this is all caused by the Democrats. They asked us to do something that's totally unreasonable. They never change. They want to give money away to illegally, people that entered our country illegally. They want to give them massive federal money. And we don't want to do that because it means everyone's going to just keep pouring back. Right now we have absolutely perfect borders like you haven't seen in many years. Even better than I had great borders during my 4 years, but these borders are stone cold closed. You can only come into our country legally now. But the Democrats want to give it all away. They want to open up the borders. Take a look at that. Big thing. They want to open borders again. After what we're going through now, getting rid of prisoners, getting rid of all of these people dropped out from mental institutions, drug dealers, drug addicts, everything. They're putting everybody into our country. It's all ended now. But this is what Schumer wants. This is what the Democrats want. They want to have, and they want to take our money. We're doing well because of tariffs. We're doing unbelievable. We're making more money than we ever have made. And by the way, we're going to take some of that tariff money that we made, just to get off the subject for a second. We're going to take some of that tariff money that we made. We're going to give it to our farmers, who are, for a little while, going to be hurt until it kicks in. The tariffs kick into their benefit. So we're going to make sure that our farmers are in great shape because we're taking in a lot of money. We're finding, the other day, it was very interesting, they found $31 billion. They said, sir, we found 31. I said, you mean positively, right? They said, yeah, 31 million more than we knew. And they said, we don't know where it came from. I said, check the tariff shelf. They came back the following morning. They said, you're right, sir, it came from the tariffs. We've never seen anything like this. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking some money from all of the tariff money that we've taken, and we're going to distribute it to our farmers until the tariffs kick into their benefit, which ultimately the farmers are going to be making a fortune. But it's a process of, it has to kick in. All right, maybe one more.
There is a shutdown. How many federal workers do you plan to lay off?
Well, we may do a lot, and that's only because of the Democrats. And as you know, they want to be able to take care of people that have come into our country illegally, and no system can handle that. And so we're totally opposed on that. But we can't take it. We just can't do it. I'd love to do everybody. I'd love to do the whole world. But our country can't handle people that come into our country illegally. And they want to give them full health care benefits. They want to open the wall again. Can you believe it? I can't even believe it. They want to open the wall. They haven't taken away boys playing in women's sports. They haven't done that. Men playing in women's sports. It's like they don't change. They lost an election in a landslide, and they don't change.
How long do you plan to give Hamas to respond to the ceasefire proposal you've laid
Well,
out?
we're going to do about 3 or 4 days. We'll see how it is. All of the Arab countries are signed up. The Muslim countries all signed up. Israel's all signed up. We're just waiting for Hamas. And Hamas is either going to be doing it or not. And if it's not, it's going to be a very sad end.
And is there room to negotiate, Mr. President? Is there room to negotiate, or is this a take it or leave it deal? Is there room to negotiate with Hamas, or is this a take it or leave it deal?
You know, with Hamas, we want very simple. We want the hostages back immediately. And we want some good behavior. And, you know, it's pretty simple. You don't get simpler. Think of it. We've signed every country in the Middle East. This was like an impossible thing. It's never been done before. This is more than Gaza. Gaza was big stuff. But Gaza is a piece of it.
And if they reject the deal, you said that Israel has your backing to do whatever they need to do. What do you envision that
Let them go and do what they have to do. They can do it pretty easily. I would let them go and do what they have to do. You know, we've killed about 25,000 Hamas. So certainly they paid a big price for October 7th. And this is a whole new group. You know, they come in and they come in and they keep coming. But this is a whole different group. And their leadership has been killed 3 different times. So they paid a big price. We hope that they're going to have a nice, calm life. Maybe it won't happen, but if it does, it'll be one of the greatest things ever to happen. We'll have actual peace in the Middle East.
Are you preparing to take strikes against drug gangs in Venezuela, sir?
We'll see what happens with Venezuela. Venezuela's been very dangerous with drugs and with other things. And they've been very, very dangerous. So we'll see what happens with Venezuela. We had a lot of drugs coming in through water. We call it water drugs, just a simple term. We don't have any boats on the water. There are no boats. There are no fishing boats. There are no anything. So we hit a number of boats. You probably saw that. And since we did that, we have absolutely no drugs coming into our country via water because it was lethal. And now we'll look at cartels. We're going to look very seriously at cartels coming by land.
What do you plan to tell the Department of War in this address? Why gather all the generals in one place for a speech?
Well, this is only an esprit de corps. You know what esprit de corps is? This is only a spirit. We're going to be talking to him. Pete Hegseth is talking right now. I'm going to have to leave because I have to talk to him. But these are our generals, our admirals, our leaders. And it's a good thing. A thing like this has never been done before because they came from all over the world. And there's a little bit of expense, not much, but there's a little expense to that. We don't like to waste it. We'd rather spend it on bullets and rockets, frankly. But this was the one time we had to do a great spiritizing. It's going to be great. I've seen it already. We have every general, every admiral. We have great people. We have our real warriors over there. And when they're not good, when we don't think they're our warriors, you know what happens? We say, you're fired, get out. We had some real bad ones last time. You know, I rebuilt the military, the entire military. But I had a couple, and I had unbelievable people. To do that, you have to. But I had unbelievable people in there. But I also had some bad ones at the top, like Milley and Mattis and that Jesper. I called him too. Always too late, Jesper. He was horrible. So, but I learned because you know I was just in there, and I put these people in. They were recommended by rhinos and others, and they're not good. What we have now is the best. But even despite that, I rebuilt the military in my first term. We had a great first term. We had the greatest economy ever, and it's being beaten by a lot this time. So I'm going over. I'm going to be meeting. I'm going to be meeting with generals and with admirals and with leaders. And if I don't like somebody, I'm going to fire them right on the spot.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We are ready, we are willing, we are able to find a bipartisan path forward and reaching a spending agreement that actually keeps the government open, but meets the needs of the American people in terms of their health, their safety, and their economic well-being. Related to lowering the high cost of living, as opposed to allowing tens of millions of Americans to experience dramatically increased healthcare costs. What we will not do is support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the healthcare of the American people. Over the last several months, Republicans have created a health care crisis in the United States of America. Largest cut to Medicaid in American history, triggering the possibility of a $536 billion cut to Medicare if Congress does not act because of what happened with the One Big Ugly Bill. Republicans have refused to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, and as a result of that, millions of working class Americans are going to experience skyrocketing premiums, copays, and deductibles at a time when America is already too expensive. Hospitals are closing. Nursing homes are closing. Community-based health centers are closing because of what Republicans have done in their One Big Ugly Bill. The Centers for Disease Control are under attack in the appropriation bill that Republicans have put forth in this month. The National Institute of Health under attack because of what Republicans have done in their appropriations bill this month. And they're limiting the ability of children and families to get vaccines. This is a five-alarm fire in terms of the Republican-caused health care crisis. And that's why Democrats are determined to turn things around. Questions?
Leader Jeffries. Leader Jeffries. The White House today, you get some assurances that they're willing to negotiate on extending the Obamacare subsidies. If that happens, would you then be open to a clean CR for the next 7 weeks?
Our position in the spending bill that has been introduced by House and Senate Democrats is a permanent extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits. Enough with the games that Republicans have been playing connected to the health care of the American people. And no one can trust their word on health care. Are you kidding me? These people have been trying to repeal and displace people off the Affordable Care Act since 2010. That's 15 years. And on behalf of the American people, we're supposed to simply take their word that they're willing to negotiate. The American people know that would be an unreasonable thing for us to do.
Why not negotiate?
Thank you. Good morning. Do you really think that the president is in a position and in a mood to negotiate? He canceled the meeting last week. Do you also anticipate that this could be one of these, yelling matches that we've seen in the White House Oval Office before, and you walk out and everybody looks worse after the meeting?
We've made clear that we are willing to find a bipartisan path forward on a spending bill negotiated by Democrats and Republicans. But it has to meet the needs of the American people. We're not going to simply go along to get along with a Republican bill that continues to gut the health care of everyday Americans who are already living with this Trump economy where costs aren't going down, but they're going up. Inflation is going up. Donald Trump and Republicans promised to lower the high cost of living on day one. That hasn't happened.
But you think he's ready?
And now we're on the brink of tens of millions of Americans literally experiencing premiums that are going to increase by thousands of dollars a year. This is going to cause people to fall into medical bankruptcy. That's not acceptable in the wealthiest country in the history of the world.
Leader Jeffries.
One of my colleagues spoke with the president just yesterday. He basically said that unless you, as Democrats, back down off of your position, a shutdown is likely. Specifically, he said, I just don't know how we are going to solve this issue of Democrats. He says they're not interested in fraud, waste, and abuse. And then with respect to health care, he says that basically it's got to address immigration and border-related matters. Otherwise, it's just not acceptable to us. So can you specifically respond to that, and are you open to compromise?
We've said from the beginning that we're willing to find a bipartisan path forward, and our line in the sand is the bill has to help everyday Americans, not hurt everyday Americans. Let's be clear about what this group of people have done. This One Big Ugly Bill that Republicans passed, they're telling the American people what they're all about. Largest cut to Medicaid in American history, ripping food from the mouths of hungry children, hungry seniors, and hungry veterans, and they did all of that to reward their billionaire donors with massive tax breaks. That's what Republicans have been all about in terms of governing this year. And we're not down with any of that. It's not complicated. So our view is, yeah, we'll find a bipartisan path forward to meet the needs of the American people, starting with health care and lowering the high cost of living, because we're in a health care crisis right now. Let me address the continued effort to try to misrepresent the Democratic position. In fact, Republicans are lying because they know they don't have the high ground. They have a weak position because they're trying to continue to hurt the American people. Federal law prohibits the expenditure of taxpayer dollars on providing health care to undocumented immigrants. Nowhere have Democrats suggested that we're interested in changing federal law. The question for the president is whether he's interested in protecting the health care of the American people.
Leader Jeffries. Leader Jeffries.
Can you talk a little bit about your approach to the meeting today, given the fact that you've not met the president face-to-face like this before? And then secondly, the idea as you talk about a five-alarm fire, do you have a concern that if the government shuts down, it only makes the five-alarm fire worse?
Here's the thing. Republicans control the House and the Senate, and there's a Republican president. If the government shuts down, it's because Republicans want to shut the government down. We've been in a five-alarm fire since January 20th. Mass firings have occurred since January 20th. They've triggered an environment where costs are going up, not down, despite their promise to change that dynamic. All the things that make America the great country that we are actually under assault. And in this country, wealthiest country in the history of the world, our view is simple. If you work hard and play by the rules, you should be able to live the good life. That's what we're fighting to achieve. Good paying jobs, good housing, good health care, good education for your children, and a good retirement. And for millions of Americans, they're doing the first two things. They're working hard, they're playing by the rules, but they're unable to live the good life. And good health care is a big part of that American dream.
But Mr. Leader.
Our approach, and Leader Schumer and I are in lockstep. House Democrats, Senate Democrats are in lockstep. We're heading into the meeting to have a good faith negotiation about landing the plane in a way that avoids a government shutdown, but does not continue the Republican assault on the health care of the American people.
Leader Jeffries. Leader Jeffries. Why not allow the typical appropriations process? I mean, what are Republicans going to get out of this if it's just 7 weeks of funding for a whole host of demands?
In terms of the typical appropriations process, what House Republicans have done is to continue the Republican assault on health care. A $1 billion plus cut that House Republicans are proposing with respect to the Centers for Disease Control. About a $450 million cut to the National Institute of Health. Republicans are trying to take vaccines away from children and families in this country. That's in their appropriations bill. That's their process that they're trying to jam down the throats of the American people. And Democrats are not interested in participating in the continued Republican assault to gut health care. Period, full stop. We've been very clear about this for months. That's why we oppose the one big ugly bill. And that's why we believe that simply accepting the Republican plan to continue to assault and gut health care is unacceptable. Last question.
Republicans have co-opted a lot of your criticisms of them in the past as far as cutting off Head Start. They say that you're the ones that are trying to take food out of the mouths of women, low-income people, infants. Are you confident that Democrats, if the government shuts down, will continue to be able to convince the American people of your position that it is the Republicans that are shutting down the government when they're saying, hey, we're giving you what you want. You're the ones that are going to hurt the American people by shutting the government down.
The Republicans are trying to jam a spending bill down the throats of the American people that was a partisan spending bill that Democrats in the House strongly opposed in March because it hurt veterans, hurt children, hurt seniors, hurt housing affordability, hurt child care, and it hurt the health of the American people. That's why we opposed the partisan Republican spending bill in March. If the Republicans were interested in finding bipartisan common ground around a spending bill, then the baseline should actually be the bill that had strong bipartisan support in December, signed into law by President Joe Biden. Our position will continue to be clear in this meeting and as we communicate to the American people: cancel the cuts, lower the costs, save health care. Thank you, everyone.